move instead off to the outside, try to open up the corner, and wow, great move from Oliveira. Can he get this one right back? Cavisto's not done, but he carries the speed well. Oh, nearly. Once again, banging doors. Inside for Piper. If he can keep it on the track, he doesn't. Oh, wheels spinning up the grass as Cavisto somehow doesn't get into the wall. 3 wide, down into Hobbs, and diving it deep. Olivier really wants that spot.
This was on my side monitor, and I watched him flash through here. This is insane. Look at it, offline, in the marbles, gets around Mr. Sneaky. I think we're going to have to change Mr. Sneaky from Takeshi Kita to Gunderson.
He's got a little bit of an overlap, and he's got the right-hand side. DJ seems to think that's the place to go. Will that be the case? He gains a little bit back, but now it's going to switch back in favor of David Burns. He carries it around the outside with a ton of speed, but he keeps it well, and he's got a nose ahead coming off the corner. Burns has better momentum. He has got it. David Burns will win here in Canada.
Watch how close this gets. Andrew Hardman, king of going up the inside, decides to go around the outside. Overprotected going into there. Hardman actually in the lead at this point. Waring comes back and says, nope, I'm not letting you have it. I'm taking one of the 10,000 lines going through 10 and gets back into the lead. This was a pass on the last lap that became an unpass as they went into that final corner. Good defense from Waring. Hardman trying to go around the outside, gets the power down, but just doesn't quite have enough to make it. But that was some amazing racing.
And Challoner is going to try it, and they're going to go 3 wide. That's his teammate, is it not? One of our Evolve drivers, but it looks like Challoner can't quite make the pass. Andrew Warren trying to come back through as he cuts underneath a savvy move from the number 5, and he's going to have that 3rd place.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every question there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Last time out, Richard Regan Jr. made a big statement with the win at Darlington. He's closing in on championship leader Bradley Holly, who will undoubtedly be feeling the pressure as we enter the final 3 rounds of 2022 Season 2 in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. We're back to the 1.5 mile ovals at Kansas Speedway for round 8 of 10, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner. With me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Kansas is a typical modern stock car track, a smooth circuit with progressive banking which drives like a super speedway. Let's head to the track guide to learn more about it.
Welcome to Kansas Speedway. Located 20 minutes west of downtown Kansas City and on the Kansas side of the border, Kansas Speedway is a 1.5-mile D-shaped oval built by International Speedway Corporation and opened in 2001. Following a reconfiguration in the summer of 2012, Kansas Speedway saw its corners go from uniform 15-degree banking to the current progressive banking, starting at 17 degrees down by the white line and working up to 20 degrees near the wall. Change in banking paved way for far more side-by-side action across the board here. A wide track, there are varying philosophies to getting around Kansas. Some prefer the bottom of the track, which while shorter and quicker can also lead to greater tire wear. Others like to ride around by the wall using that extra bit of banking for a bigger run off the corner and to conserve tires. A problem spot here at Kansas can be the exit of turn 4, where the car is prone to snapping loose if a driver has too much steering input on corner exit, and the apron can also be especially slippery, particularly just past the start-finish line. The NASCAR Cup Series races here at Kansas twice a year with accompanying races from the Xfinity Series, the trucks, as well as ARCA. IndyCar held events here at Kansas from its opening in 2001 all the way through 2010, but has not been back since the repaint. Well, that's our look at Kansas Speedway. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, 2021 Season 4 was the last time we raced at Kansas in this series, so we've had quite a bit of a break. What can the drivers expect from this track, considering it's been such a long time since we raced here last?
Well, this is the quintessential NASCAR-style intermediate track. It's got a lot of grooves, a pretty wide racing surface, and many different ways that it can be raced. So I think we are in for a pretty exciting race. These trucks can, at certain points, race this one wide open, which makes for, well, fun super speedway style racing out here. So I think it'll be a really fun race. We should see a fair amount of passing, and hopefully everyone keeps their nose clean and we go green to the finish.
Certainly hoping that as well. If we go green all the way to the finish, the drivers will be racing for 85 laps in this broadcast, which is brought to you by a fantastic roster of sponsors here at the Precision Racing League, like Advanced SimRacing. Owned and operated by passionate SimRacers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets, supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Well, the drivers' standings are certainly closing up here with Richard Regan Jr. only 15 points behind Bradley Holly. It's a two-horse race at the front of the field, but from 3rd to 7th, it is mighty close. Have a look at the lack of difference in points between Kailyn, Evans, Zemke, Cervantes, and Sink. I tell you what, Chris, all of those drivers are going to be gunning for a top position here tonight, and we'll probably see some big changes in that part of the standings.
It really shows how intense things have been, really from the front to the middle of the grid. You have Richard Regan Jr., who's fighting back for a championship and getting close to being within striking distance. And then that battle for 3rd is just insane. Anyone from 3rd to 7th on back could figuratively, or could basically have that position here by the end of the race.
Indeed. Well, we'll see how things work out at the end of these 85 laps. In terms of the team standings, well, Waterback have held on to the top 3 spots in the team standings for the majority of the season, but it's a little bit closer between Back Row and Next Level Racing, with Richard Regan Jr. in the Next Level Racing Toyota Tundra certainly making a good case for himself in the latter half of this season. We'll see how that ends up working out by the end. But in terms of the rest of the team standings, it looks like gaps are pretty close between Car Ramrod, SGE Sports, and Ride and Shotgun, with Daniel Knight, one of the drivers for that team, and Knight in the top 10 in the standings for the drivers.
Yeah, you can say one thing for sure when it comes to the team standings. It's a good year to be on Waterback.
Yeah, for sure. These guys put in maximum effort every single time they get out there. The drivers are going to be tackling Kansas, as I said, for 85 laps here tonight with a fixed setup, 4 total tyre sets. And considering the temperature of the track, we'll see how difficult it is for the drivers to make those tyres last. It's 49 degrees Celsius out there on track at the moment, but if you get involved in an incident, no spare truck, and a 24 incident limit. So if you get involved in too many slaps and bangs, you will get slapped back to the pit lane permanently for the rest of the race.
That's right, too many of those incidents and you get promoted to spectator.
For sure. Well, last few moments of the practice session here, and in terms of the times, it's Bradley Holly on top with Mark Kailyn 400s behind him. Thomas Sink very close as well, another part of the Waterback team. Kailyn doing a bit of practice racing here with Zemke. I'm sure that perhaps a few people were a little bit worried when we first started the broadcast to see drivers forming up on the track and going for a start. It's because the drivers like to practice their starts just before they get into qualifying, so no need to worry. We are not in the racing action just yet, but Kailyn demonstrating that it is very loose up there on the top.
Yeah, especially at this point. I mean, I think you primarily had people running towards the middle of the track, so the outside's still a little bit greasy, and Kansas does tend to be a little warm this time of year.
Indeed it does. We're set for the 14th of May in sim time, and there you are, 121 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. That is just crazy. I'm sure that the tyre drop-off, well, we've seen it be more than a second, 1.5 seconds at places like Darlington. I reckon we're going to be seeing about that within 3 laps once we get started.
Yeah, this is a relatively fresh scan of the track from when it was repaved, so I don't think the surface itself is too particularly rough, but it is still a track that's in the central United States, goes through the freeze and unfreeze in the wintertime, and definitely that surface takes a beating, so especially with the heat going on right now, those tires could be in for a long day.
Yeah, certainly could. Well, only 10 seconds left and we'll find out how the drivers do in qualifying. Kailyn going for a drift onto the apron and unfortunately missing pit entry as a result. Showing once again how loose the trucks can get here at Kansas, but then Kansas is the kind of track that you really need a loose truck for. The way these engines work, you need to keep up that momentum. You need to have a truck that turns in properly. Nonetheless, we'll see whether or not it is the first or the second lap that is quicker here tonight with that very hot track temperature. If drivers push a bit too hard on their first lap and make a mistake, they probably won't be able to go faster considering the track temp is so high. The tires can be very sensitive to those big changes in temperature.
It does take a bit to get these trucks wound up also, so if you really screw the pooch on that first lap, I mean, it's possible that you're pretty compromised for most of the second lap as well.
Interesting to see the weaving there from Ryan Traver, maybe checking to see if his hardware is all in good nick. Traver's had a difficult season, hasn't he? He's down in 21st in the drivers' standings going into this race. And I got to say, he has shown some great talent, but luck just hasn't fallen his way. You see that he's running high, though, here on his first lap. He's trying to build up a little bit more speed so that he can cross the start-finish line and get proper momentum for his hot lap, running a bit more middle of the road in turns 3 and 4, but you'll see him go a bit further down to the inside for his hot lap, I reckon.
Yeah, already down on the apron as he crosses the line. A nice sweep off of the apron up to the wall as he takes his entrance into turn 1, though, to get a good arc into the corner. And stays up closer to the wall down the back straightaway. I imagine this will be for a better, maybe a later apex in 3 and 4. And then he'll come through the corner here, probably sweep it out wide towards the wall, and then he's going to dive onto the apron here and try to get the shortest distance around the track for his time.
That is a good time for Ryan Traver, up to what is now third place, was second, but Colton Lane put it in a 31.553. Eric Papineau going to provisional pole, but then Richard Regan Jr. takes it back. Now, Regan's going to be a driver to watch because he's currently competing in the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying series, and they're going to be running this car track combo tomorrow for that, so definitely a good opportunity to practice for Richard Regan. There's every chance that he could make the top 70 in points, which is what you need to qualify forward in eNASCAR Road to Pro. So any bit of track time counts, as they say, but we still have a few drivers left to get themselves on the grid here. Can anyone match Richard Regan's time? Regan was 4th in practice, I believe, and we still have yet to see times from Bradley Holly, Danny Cervantes, and Thomas Sink. We do check out Jeff Evans, who set us 31.7 on his first lap. This might be looking a little faster. 31.4, that's another 3/10 out of it, and he goes all the way up to second. Good job there from Jeff Evans.
Mark Kailyn must have put down a good lap, though. Immediately goes back up to second. Well, looks like they're about even on time.
They are. They have set the exact same time down to the 1,000th. That's amazing. In fact, yeah, they're so close on times that that my personal timing has them in the reverse order. So yeah, just goes to show how competitive this season can be, especially in the later stages. Danny Cervantes, 25th at the moment, and he's come off a few really good results and good comeback drives at the likes of Darlington. What's his time going to be? 31.393. That is excellent there for Cervantes. All the way up to second place. Thomas Sink goes into 5th, and Bradley Holly's first time is a 31.405. Actually, that is second time that he's just set. I think it is. So Bradley Holly's qualifying run, I think, might be over. But one more driver left, Charles Sumner, and he does have enough time to get this lap done, Chris.
Yeah, he already has one lap in the books. But it's definitely not indicative of where he'd like to start, running a 31.8 compared to a 31.3 for fast time right now. So he'll come down to the line here with just a few seconds left in the session, probably the last driver to take a time, and cuts off a good amount, 31.423. That's good for 7th on the pylon over there.
Wow, with only a few seconds to spare in the session. For the first time in a very long time, we've had all of the drivers in our 27-car field set a qualifying time. Here's the grid. Richard Regan Jr. on pole with Danny Cervantes alongside him. Bradley Holly, championship leader, starts out a third alongside Mark Kailyn. Jeff Evans on the third row with Adam Zemke. Then Charles Sumner and Thomas Sink, 7th and 8th. The top 10 are rounded out by Dalton Geyer and Barron Hilton, two drivers who should be very happy with that performance.
Then just outside of the top 10 is going to be Mike Richter and Mike Witt in row number 6, Jim Westerfield and Eric Papineau in row number 7. Daniel Knight and Adam Shane make up row number 8, and then 17th on the grid is going to be Colton Lane over Zach Panzarella in 18th. Ryan Traver slides down the rankings to 19th for the start here, then Skip Gandy will complete your top 20 starters.
In truck 20, no less, Jose Medina's going to start out at 21st alongside Nicholas Hunter. Then it's CM Pennington and Stacey Hunter who start at 23rd and 24th. Garrett Austin and Austin Hunter. Wow, that's 3 Hunters in a row on the outside, with Dylan Schmidt taking the last spot on the grid here. Now we wait for the drivers to get themselves going behind the iRacing pace car. And I'll tell you what, seeing Richard Regan Jr. take pole position, I think that's going to work out really well for his Road to Pro race tomorrow. And if he can manage this, if he can manage a hot track, there's every chance that the conditions could be different in the Road to Pro race. So, hey, this is good practice, I suppose, by putting yourself to hell and back.
That's right. Any laps are good laps when you have something on the line like the Road to Pro, and Regan's shown he does well under pressure, and a hot, slick track out there starting on pole with your championship rival literally starting right in your mirror. I mean, it doesn't get much more pressure filled than that.
Certainly not. And don't forget, Regan is the one chasing for that title, so he'll be definitely not taking it easy out there. Regan and Austin Hunter there on the cams. We've got Mark Kailyn as well. No surprise to see that Terry Labonte still watching over him there in the background. Then we've got Nick Hunter running virtual reality there. It's so interesting to see that see no screen on a sim rig. It still doesn't feel right to me. But Bradley Holly definitely has screens in front of him. And he'll be looking for another win here tonight, try and get himself reasserted at the top of the standings in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. 1.5 miles is this track. That means there's only a single formation lap. And as the drivers come onto the front stretch, the pace car will jump in, and it's going to be a full field of 27 cars. No pit lane starters, no non-qualifiers here at Kansas. The green flag flies, and we are away. A good start from the field, very even. Cervantes kept himself very even with Richard Regan as they come into turn 1 for the first time. But with the inside line, Regan does have a little bit of extra momentum. He tries swapping up to the top side, doesn't want to give the draft to Bradley Holly. Cervantes is going to give him a bump here.
And you can already see drivers trying that outside line. It doesn't look like it's hurting too bad right now. Cervantes gets a really good run off of turn 4.
He does lose out a little bit by the drivers below him cutting the tri-oval. Now Regan is definitely running the high line and allowing Bradley Holly to get alongside him, but you see that there's a little bit of extra speed that's given to Regan by using the top of the circuit. Don't forget, it's progressive banking here at Kansas. It's not that much of a difference between the bottom and the top, but it still counts.
And you can see you have drivers that use the straightaway in so many different manners. Some up closer to the wall, some down at the line, some below the line. I mean, this is really a track that is just perfect for this type of racing.
You can see how even Regan and Holly are running side by side here. Holly has not been able to get a proper run on Regan so far. Regan really shadowing him and it's been a very clean start for the time being. Kansas, a nice and wide track. There's been plenty of too wide racing in these opening laps, but it looks like Regan just losing the lead there to Holly, who slots back up, but Regan's going to cut back down to the inside. Oh, take it easy, boys. Almost made contact. I thought for a second Regan was very loose.
Couldn't have put a sheet of tissue paper between them going through the corner there. Holly is now all over the back of the 56 trying to make a move. He's going to take him high in 3 and 4, or 1 and 2.
Let's see what kind of momentum Holly has. Oh, he looked a little loose there on the exit, but he does get the good run, and he's going to have some help from his teammate Cervantes in the number 25. The top 4, 2x2, running at the moment. Jeff Evans is lurking in the background, but he's not making much of an impression on these guys. Regan still leads across the line, but he's not going to have any help here. It's all waterback in the top 4 spots. So these drivers know that they can certainly depend on each other. They practice together, they help each other with learning the tracks, etc., etc. But when it comes down to it, you race together, and sometimes team allegiances can be forgotten. Regan is really having trouble with that rear end now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty aggressive on the start there, so, I mean, it could just be the good coming off the tires, but yeah, that looks like it's a bit of a handful right now.
Looks like Cervantes and Kailyn have fallen off the back of Holly and Regan once again, so it's a 2-horse race at the front of the field. Holly cuts down to the apron, but Regan responds. Doesn't allow Holly to get past his rear bumper.
And there's definitely a certain level of trust that has to go in feeling confident to make a move like that. To know that Bradley's going to play it safe this early in the run and maybe not push the issue as much as he could have right there.
Well, Regan on his return to the PRL NASCAR Truck Series has certainly shown that he's lost none of his pace. The results did not quite come for him in the first half of the season. Yes, he was getting podiums, he was getting the occasional win, but not quite matching Bradley Holly's consistency in points total. Now that we are in the second half of the season, Regan has responded very well, and keeping Holly behind like he is, looks like it'll be boding well for the final few rounds of his season. Let's check out what's going on further back in the field. This is looking spicy. 3 wide. CM Pennington up high with Eric Papineau and Ryan Traber down on the bottom. They are joined by Austin Hunter, who rounds them up round the outside coming into turn 1.
Yeah, that little battle kind of found Austin Hunter there, where they met in the middle, so to speak, and I don't know how confident I'd be to suddenly be on the outside of a 3-wide maneuver. But Austin held his own there, and he did lose a little bit of ground, but didn't end up in the fence, and that's a victory right there.
Eric Papineau, who we're focusing on at the moment, did not get the best of starts, qualified in 14th, and is now currently in 19th. So things haven't gone as well as he would have expected in these first 11 laps at Kansas, but we know that Papineau has been able to come back at the end of races, and he's gotten some pretty good results this season, so we'll wait and see. Colton Lane, meanwhile, in the number 60, still where he started in 17th place, and not quite making an impression on Adam Shane and Skip Gandy up ahead of him. He's going to have to look out for CM Pennington just behind. We're seeing that Nicholas Hunter is pitting on this lap. That is abnormally early, I would think.
Yeah, I would be pretty confident that that may not be a planned stop.
Probably not. Is he going to take tires? Yes, he is. There haven't been any incidents out on tracks so far, so it's definitely not damage. Perhaps it could be a hardware issue. We're not quite sure. Fighting for the lead continues, though. Richard Regan Now to the inside, and Holly, have a look at how much momentum he gets round the outside. That's the lead taken there for Bradley Holly. Quite a big change up at the front of the field. Richard Regan losing all of that momentum.
Yeah, if you can carry that momentum on the outside, it feels like you're shot down the back straightaway. And Holly took advantage there and was able to get around Regan, and now finds himself out in front on lap 13.
So the swap at the front, but how long will that last? Meanwhile, oh dear, that's a problem there for Mark Kailyn. Something has gone very wrong for him, potentially getting a slide on and losing said momentum that we were talking about. He actually caught the wall there behind Regan and Holly, and now he's right in the midst of battling in the midfield with Skip Gandy. That's for 12th position that Gandy has just taken. It's going to take Kailyn a little while here to get back up to pace, up to speed. He's going to have to try and keep out of that wall.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier on, this is a momentum track for these trucks. If you get into the wall and you have to get off the gas, it is not something you recover from quickly. It's going to be at least another lap before Kailyn's back up to speed and moving forward again.
Shows how much time you lose with a very small mistake like that. Kailyn now all the way back into lucky 13th as we check out Danny Cervantes in third. Got Jeff Evans and Thomas Sink for very close company. These guys have let the top two get away from them. But if there's a caution, then they'll definitely have another chance at trying to fight for that lead with them. Have a look at that train as well, as that's a problem for Colton Lane. Running a bit high, off pace. Did he collect the wall as well?
It's possible. I mean, he's fallen a lap down. Oh gosh, there's a lot of trucks up there.
Yeah, it looks like he got into the wall out of turn 2 and then into turn 3. So not a good lap for Colton Lane a couple of laps ago. Now down to 20th place as we check out Skip Gandy once again with Baron Hilton down on the bottom across the apron. They've got the trying to recover Mark Kailyn up there with them. Baron Hilton has had a pretty good race here at Kansas. We usually see him outside the top 10, but he is definitely motoring his way towards a potential position inside it as Kailyn goes for the move up the inside, up into 11th place. Let's see what he can do to try and recover something, because it looks like the race has entered a bit of a rhythm now. We've stayed green for quite some time.
Yeah, Baron stayed up on the track last time by, but the lap before he was so low on the tri-oval, he actually was down in the grass.
Ooh. Want to try and keep it out of that grass, because don't forget the drivers have to deal with an incident limit, and you will get an off track if you take the grass in the apron. As Jeff Evans tries up the inside of Danny Cervantes. Cervantes on the banking, but Evans able to keep up with the slightly shorter distance to the line. But now Cervantes with the outside should get a little bit of extra pace here down the back stretch, but it's not as much as we saw at the start. It seems that as the tyres drop off here, the difference between the high and the middle line is reducing.
Yeah, definitely as this race goes on, we'll see more of this track become usable as the rubber comes in. Whoa. And they definitely cut it close to that wall.
Yeah, I was reacting to Jeff Evans having a bit of a micro slide in the middle of turns 2 and 3. That's dropped him off the back of Cervantes, and now it's going to potentially give Thomas Sink and Daniel Knight a run here, but Sink once again a little bit of a helping of oversteer out of turns 3 and 4. Here we go, another pitter. It's Mike Richter.
Yeah, more takers on pit road is still surprising at this point in the race, I think.
Yeah, only lap 22. We're just over a quarter of the way through. I mean, you do get 4 sets of tyres, including the one you start on, so perhaps Richter's thinking, just get a fresh set of tyres and, regularly space it out. But I think if we go caution-free, then only one pit stop is going to be the way to go. Sink here, trying his best to defend from Daniel Knight, and it looks like he's managed to get it done for now. Have a look at the run that Adam Zemke gets behind them. Zemke's been working pretty well in the top 10 over the last few rounds, and being in that 5th place in the championship, certainly proof of that for Adam, who won the first round a couple of seasons ago. But Daniel Knight, once again, showing that qualifying pace isn't everything. Once again, he has made his way up through the field from 15th to now 6th.
Yeah, that's kind of been the story of his season, it seems like. Struggle in qualifying and then bring it back on race time.
Here we go. Oh, Mark Kailyn versus Adam Shane now. Trying to work his way forward. Kailyn's still having some issues with a tiny bit of oversteer. Just look at the onboard behavior of that car and look at the wheel work he's having to do. All of that counter steering that he's having to do up high. Once again, the trucks do tend to be loose at Kansas, but man, looks like they're on an absolute knife edge there. See, look at that. Just little notches, little slides all the way through the corner. Very easy with the wall that close to completely ruin your race.
Yeah, it's amazing how much input they have to put into the wheel here. And I mean, that is an exceptional amount for Mark. He's borderline swatting flies in that truck right now.
Whoa, hello, 3 wide. Baron Hilton, Eric Papineau, and Mike Witt. Witt in the number 26 Mountain Dew machine with Eric Papineau in the 37 Meineke machine. Looks like Mark Kailyn has just about left these guys behind and is still trying to pass Adam Shane, but a big bit of racing here, and that's brought CM Pennington and Ryan Traver right into it as well.
Did Kailyn maybe get the wall again? Because
yeah,
he is plummeting there.
Right back into it once again, splitting Witt and Papineau. Oh, and it looks like a big helping of oversteer for CM Pennington just behind them as well. He is losing a slight bit of momentum. This is quite the pack, I have to say. Now that the tyres are really going down in terms of pace. Oh, hello, Baron Hilton, very heavy into the wall just up ahead of these guys. They managed to avoid him. But man, Baron Hilton, he was in 12th and he's dropping like a fly down the order.
Gosh, that's such a bummer. He was running so well today. Easily the best race he's had all season, and unfortunately that wall will reach out and bite you sometimes.
That it does. It happened on entry. I think a little bit of oversteer, which then turned into understeer when he tried to correct it, and just grinding up against the safer barrier. So now he's down into 20th place. Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd. We check in once again with the front of this field. Danny Cervantes trying to hold off Jeff Evans. Jeff has managed to get a little bit of extra pace here in the last few laps. 200ths faster than Danny Cervantes on the last lap, and running a bit more towards the middle. Cervantes still seems comfortable running the top. Oh, but I do see a little bit of rear end lack of grip once again for Jeff Evans. Seems that, man, every time we look at a driver I worry that they're just going to flick spin it into the wall at some point because, you know, you can see them hanging the tail out in the mid-corner.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fixed setup, so they're all on the same footing there, but this truck just looks absolutely wicked to hold on to.
Oh, did you see that there from Daniel Knight, nearly getting into the wall off the exit of turn 4. He's really got some pace on him now. He took a 10th out as that is Mark Kailyn coming into the lane, and that looked like a bit of a dramatic pit entry. A race that could have been going quite well for Mark Kailyn. Not going swimmingly, even less swimmingly, now that he has a black flag, I presume, for an unsafe pit entry. So now that's going to be some extra time spent in the lane, and Kailyn's going to have to be banking on a caution, potentially getting the lucky dog in order to get himself back onto the lead lap and with a chance of some good points. But Daniel Knight, he's looked after his tyres, he is advanced through the field, and now he's rounding up Jeff Evans for 4th place.
Sure looks like some clouds came in over there in turns 1 and 2. It was very dark on that half of the track.
Might work in Knight's favour. Question is, you know, when you get to these turns and you're so close behind the driver in front of you, how do you go for the move? Do you dive down to the inside and risk losing that momentum with the title line around the track, or do you try and get the best run possible by staying high and slipstreaming down the straight?
I think the best bet here is going to be kind of following in their wake and then trying to end up where they're not on the straightaway, maybe get a crossover and get underneath them.
Whoa.
Ooh, but gosh, Evans almost fallen into the clutches of Daniel Knight there.
Look at him, he's threading the needle around the outside. He's so close to the wall. I thought for sure that he actually hit the wall on the way into the first turn. He might have, but he didn't lose any momentum. Knight is really staking his claim now and using that high line to great effect. He's forced Evans to go low.
And he has been very fast on that high line, and you're absolutely right, Reese. He's closer to that wall than anybody we've seen all day.
Apart from maybe Thomas Sink there just behind him. Man, there we go. That is the move complete there for Daniel Knight. What a fantastic move that was. Took him a couple of laps to get it done, but it was set up well and executed well too. So now we start thinking about potential podium for Daniel Knight. He's already taken a couple so far this season. Third place at Martinsville, and also 3rd place at Darlington too. So who knows? Maybe we'll see another P3 for Daniel Knight in the number 17 Toyota Tundra. Meanwhile, have a look at Mike Richter down on the bottom. Remember, he's just recently come out of the pits on fresh tyres, and that's a visual demonstration of how much pace fresh tyres give you at this point.
Yeah, just looking at the times here, last time around, your leader, Bradley Holly, went a 33.25. His best time, a 31.42, so that's almost 2 seconds drop off on these older used-up tires.
Always astounds me just how much the tires drop off in this series, but it certainly makes strategy a big part of what goes on. Knight sees that pace and is trying to get a little bit of a draft there on Richter to try and get Cervantes here for 3rd. Now he's in the same position he was with Jeff Evans just a couple of laps ago as Richter moves up to the high line. It's a big draft for Cervantes and Knight dives to the inside, gets it done on Cervantes, it seems. Will slide up in front of him. But will Cervantes get him back here? No, Knight's going to try and stick as low as he possibly can and defend this. The shorter line is the way to go in the tri-oval most of the time. And there we go, all done. But the thing is now for Daniel Knight, he isn't going to have much help in terms of draft, apart from Mike Richter, who is skipping away as we see drivers coming into the lane. That's going to be Zach Panzarella and Dalton Geyer. From further back in the field, Dylan Schmidt comes in just behind them. So it's drivers in the back of the field that are pitting first. No surprise there. They're going to try and get themselves a good mid-race pace. But I think the drivers up at the front of the field, they're going to be waiting a little longer.
Yeah, I got to think with the huge time difference with the tire drop-off, I'd really like to see somebody like a Jeff Evans or a Danny Cervantes go for an undercut here. I think that could be a little exciting.
Yeah, I would like to see it too. Looks like Adam Shane has said that he's going to be pitting in as Mark Kailyn tries to work his way back up. Now down into 26th place. 55-second stop time there for him, and that would have counted the 40-something seconds that you get for an unsafe pit entry. Kailyn is currently down 2 laps, so he is not going to get the lucky dog if there's a caution. Currently, the lead car a lap down is Mike Richter. Meanwhile, it looks like there's been a bit of a problem for Thomas Sink. He's just dropped a few positions. No, it's not a problem. He is going into the pit lane. So, Chris, you talked about drivers at the front of the field pulling a surprise by trying to pit earlier on. Looks like Sink was listening to you.
Well, about time I talked about these drivers doing something that didn't end up in the exact opposite happening.
Locking up the rears was Sink on the way into the lane, into the box, sorry. And let's see how long the stop is for him. Usually runs about 14 to 15 seconds to put all 4 tyres on. Spins up the rears on his way out, and there we go. There's the response from our leaders. At the very least, our second place back, Regan, Knight, Evans, Gandy, and Westerfield, they jump in, but the rest of the Waterback crew, Bradley Holly, Danny Cervantes, they stay out. So do Adam Zemke and Charles Sumner, who are all fighting in the top 10, going a lap longer. But Bradley Holly says, nope, now it is time for me to jump into the lane. Cervantes and Zemke continue to stay out. I wonder if that's a wise decision.
Yeah, you got to think it's going to be at least a couple seconds difference between, well, I guess it depends on when he comes in, but it could be a couple seconds difference once everything shakes out.
Well, Cervantes continuing to set mid to high 33s. Zemke a little bit quicker on the last lap. Checking out pit stop times, it looks like Richard Regan Jr.'s stop time was 15.1 seconds. It was 14.8 for Bradley Holly. Holly is, oh, there we go, Cervantes has jumped in. Zemke and Sumner continuing to stay out. But I'm just seeing Bradley Holly come out of the lane there just behind them, and Richard Regan Jr. with a bit more momentum down the straight. I mean, he might be able to take this lead back. And look at that, sweeping around the outside of Holly, pitting a lap earlier, giving him just the right amount of momentum he needed.
Yeah, he was able to get that truck up to speed, coming out onto the track a little earlier, and obviously the fresh tires were a little bit of an advantage comparing the out laps there. And well, now we got ourselves, well, I guess not a new leader, but a returning leader once pit stops cycle through.
How long will Bradley Holly wait before he pulls the move on Regan is the big question. So there's been a few shifts in position here. Pitting as late as he did not work out well for Danny Cervantes. He's down in 11th now, and effective looks like 5th or 6th. Charles Sumner finally comes into the lane, the last car to do that. Mike Richter moving up into 2nd place now with that very early stop. But he is way off strategy compared to everyone else. He is going to have to pit again, I would imagine. And the leaders are coming up on him very quick. Thomas Sink, meanwhile, moves into effective 3rd.
And here's a great battle continuing on with Regan and Holly. Oh, they get very close to the lap truck.
Now that's for position with Mike Richter in the 88.
Gosh, Richter, Richter is still out on the track. Holy moly.
Yeah. Well, Richter, remember, he pitted 27 laps ago. He was the first truck to take a regular pit stop. So that was a very hair-raising moment there for Regan and Holly. Regan's going to hold on for the lead here. Just about. Holly with a big helping of oversteer on the exit. Regan moves ahead of him. The lapped car that they were negotiating was Eric Papineau in the number 7. Seems that Regan now is comfortable with the high line in turns 3 and 4. Is this going to work out well for them? They've got 2 battling lapped trucks just ahead of them, Baron Hilton and Garrett Austin. What kind of courtesy are these guys going to give? Bradley Holly sticking all the way to the bottom, maybe trying to line up a move here. Austin is, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Looks like Regan might take the move here. Holly might get blocked by Austin. Holly's going to move all the way to the top of the circuit now.
So Holly with a slide job, Regan with a crossover. This is, oh God, this is intense.
This is a fantastic race we're having with our leaders trying to negotiate this lap traffic, and you see how much focus Bradley Holly has. All the way to the inside, going to try and line up Baron Hilton now. Regan getting the better exit, coming onto the straight. Now, it was a split-second decision that they had to make there. They didn't know which way Baron Hilton was going to go, whether or not he was going to go high or go low. Richard Regan picked low, and it looks like he was right. Now Holly is going to jump into the slipstream once again and stick low here in turns 1 and 2. Might be working the tyres just a little bit harder there, particularly the fronts down on the bottom. But at the same time, Richard Regan Jr. might be having a bit more trouble with the rears, running high and so close to the wall with such loose trucks out there.
I had to take a couple deep breaths there, Reese. I realized I was holding my breath for about 2.5 laps.
Yeah, the words are just tumbling out of me.
This is just an amazing battle for the lead with our top 2 in the points championship. I mean, this is exactly what racing is supposed to be, and it has been a tremendous show now as they've gotten things sorted out just a little bit as they negotiate lap traffic. But I would highly doubt that Bradley Holly is throwing the white flag out.
Yeah, certainly not. He's not one to give up easily, as Bradley Holly, being a former champion of this series a couple of times now. He's certainly got what it takes. So we're now past half race distance, well past it, with 32 laps to go. And if we stay green to the end, it's likely that the pit stops we saw drivers taking will be the only time they come into the pits. That said, if there is a caution in the final 10, 20 laps, I think you'll see the entire field jump into the lane. But there's been a lot of space being given by the drivers out there, and there hasn't been much in the way of heavy contact. So I don't know, things have been pretty clean right now, at the risk of putting the commentator's curse on the entire field.
Well, looks like Holly is beginning to close back in, make another challenge for the lead with coming to 30 to go. And he is right there on Regan's back bumper heading into turn 1.
Trying to go a little bit low on exit, as that's Mike Richter jumping in for his second stop of the night. No surprise there as Holly goes to the inside on Richard Regan. Gets momentum in the first half of the turn, but Regan gets it back on the exit. This is going to be very difficult for Holly to execute. Holly has looked like the faster driver under race conditions. His fastest lap is about 800ths faster than Richard Regan's fastest lap, and still about 400ths faster on the previous lap. So Regan will definitely be feeling the pressure here, but it's just these two up at the front of the field. Holly isn't going to be getting any help from anyone, neither is Regan.
And I mean, you look at Holly. Ooh, Regan looks like the back end stepped out a little bit there. But you watch Holly follow in his wake, and Bradley Holly's really good at pushing somebody outside of their comfort zone. He won't necessarily send them into the wall or anything, but he can just ride right in your wake, and it takes your focus away and can be a bit distracting. And it might be what he's trying to do here, but Richard Regan Jr. is shown to be pretty steadfast during this race and hasn't been shaken, but man, is he close to that wall.
Look at it! Look at the oversteer! Look at the corrections that Regan was making!
And didn't hit the wall, I don't think. That is insane.
I'm gonna have a heart attack at this point. God, it's always so stressful. Look at him! It's almost like he's driving at Eldora.
And doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat.
Oh,
just completely casual. I don't know about you, Reese, but if that was me behind the wheel of one of these trucks right now, I think I'd be somewhere in the catch fence.
Yeah, I'd be above it as Holly dives down to the inside in the tri-oval to try and take the race lead from Richard Regan Jr. Will he be able to get it done? Dives down. He is clear. He can move up now and block the run. That's exactly what he tries to do, but there's a big bit of oversteer and Regan gets into him.
Oh my gosh, they made contact. Holly able to gather it back up, but Regan able to get back by, but Holly really didn't lose that much ground. I mean, we can see where it may take effect here in a moment, but for as sideways as he was, Holly doesn't seem too much worse for wear.
Yeah, it looked like it was only minor contact at the end of the day and very well held by Bradley Holly. He's going to have to try and get some of that momentum back in the slipstream. The advantage is with Regan. Coming up on some lapped traffic, the battling pair of Austin Hunter and Zach Panzarella. Once again, it's cars fighting for position here that going to potentially affect this battle for the lead. Regan has to be careful about how he picks his battles here.
And this is not formula-style racing. Those drivers fighting for position are under no obligation to give up their battle to make way for the leaders. It looks like that's what they're going to do, but they're under no obligation, just a little bit of racer's etiquette there.
Well, I tell you what, Baron Hilton was behind Bradley Holly there in his slipstream, and he really took advantage of that. Actually gained the position on Zach Panzarella. So I think Hilton is in a pretty good spot right now if he wants to try and make up places. Getting in the draft of the leaders and just following them through as they lap the drivers that you are fighting for position with. Austin Hunter down on the bottom. It looks like there's not going to be much drama here. Good Lord, just little bits of excitement here at Kansas. Mostly it has been a quiet but tense race, and occasionally that tension breaks.
Well, I don't know about the drivers, but I'm thankful we have a little bit of a lull so I can catch my breath when I use my cell phone to make notes during the race. And tell you what, when Regan and Holly made contact there, I literally launched my phone across the room here. Still don't know where it is, so hopefully I didn't have anything too important on there.
Oh, goodness. Well, looks like that's Jeff Evans having made his way past Thomas Sink. I was keeping an eye on that battle on the timing before, and Sink pitting a lap earlier than Evans and Knight, those two cars ahead of him now. He was right in between them before, but now Sink moving back into 5th place, which is still a nice improvement. You got to remember, Cervantes, Zemke and Sumner, they pitted much later than all these drivers did, and it did not work out well for them. Oh, looks like there's a bit of drama for the lead meanwhile. Richard Regan Jr. was held up slightly by Dalton Gaia, and that's brought Bradley Holly right back into it, right on the bumper now of the number 56.
And Bradley Holly always, as long as we've had these driver cameras, has just been the picture of focus. I mean, you look at him there, it looks like the man has ice water running through his veins. I mean, you look at him, he could very easily be playing Farm Simulator right now, and you wouldn't know any better based on his expression. And here he is battling for the lead right up against the wall here at Kansas. The guy looks totally calm and serene.
The picture of focus. And you also see that there's a lot less counter steering going on than we saw from Richard Regan Jr. So Holly is taking it a little bit easier going into those corners. Yes, you do still see some corrections, but definitely not to the level that we saw from Regan.
And I definitely think it's a philosophical difference in the way that they drive. Richard Regan Jr. has always struck me as a kind of a Kyle Busch-esque driver that, I mean, he is just elbows out and really can hang that truck out on the ragged edge and somehow make it work. Whereas Bradley Holly reminds me of really more of like a Mark Martin, Terry Labonte type driver who's really more calculating and deliberate. It doesn't seem like he makes any moves impulsively. Everything he does is thought out and planned out meticulously, it feels like. So these are two drivers that have raced really well together today, but I feel like their approaches to how they drive and how they race are totally different ends of the spectrum.
It's always amazing to watch, always brilliant to see how drivers with such differing styles match up to each other. 14 laps to go now. We're in the dying stages of the race, and it's getting to crunch time for Bradley Holly. Can he make this work on Richard Regan Jr. and protect his championship lead from being narrowed further? Remember, Regan only 15 points behind Holly coming into this 8th round of 10, and if he takes the win here, then it's going to be at least a few more, closer to 10 points behind that he will be.
I don't know if maybe Holly's letting the tires cool down or what, but he is definitely losing ground to Regan. But I mean, as hard as these guys drove, it's really hard to tell what's deliberate and what's just the trucks maybe being used up a little bit.
Yeah, Holly's fallen off the back of Regan a little bit now. Interesting to see, because Holly has tyres that are a lap younger than Regan's as they make their way past Jose Medina. Medina qualified outside the top 20 and is now up into 16th. He should be happy with how things have gone. I don't think he'll be that fussed about going a lap down. At least now he can get a little bit of extra slipstream, because goodness me, he is on his own at the moment. It's a few seconds ahead to Mark Kailyn in 25th.
That's always nice as the leader after you've gone through so many laps lap vehicles to have a little bit of clean space in front of you where you can just focus on driving the truck and not have to anticipate what somebody else is going to do that could potentially wreck your race.
10 to go. Richard Regan leads by 0.6 of a second from Bradley Holly. Daniel Knight was the fastest car on track that time around in third place. Jeff Evans in fourth and Thomas Sink in the top five. Cervantes, Zemke and Sumner falling back quite a ways thanks to taking their pit stops later. All that extra time spent out on track ultimately ended up costing them dearly. Bradley Holly clearing Jose Medina, and now he can try to get that now 0.7 back on Richard Regan, but will he be able to do it with only 9 to go now?
You know, this is one of the races that you're almost disappointed when you get to this part of the race. You know, there's only 9 laps left, and I'm borderline sad this one's over.
Yeah, so am I, as Mark Kailyn jumps into the pits just behind those guys. There's battling still going on here between Ryan Traver and Stacey Hunter. Still could be a change for the last 2 positions on the lead lap in 14th and 15th. With Hunter jumping up the inside of Traver there, grabbing 13th. Hunter's up 11 places. Can certainly be happy with that. Skip Gandy's also up 11 places, but the most positions gained in the field is Daniel Knight, up 12 in third place right now.
And it looks like the clouds have came back in Kansas. It's dark over there in 1 and 2 again.
Looks like the track temperature has gone down a bit as well. It's now down to 42 degrees Celsius, 108 Fahrenheit. That's quite the drop-off, actually.
Wow, yeah, the track temperature's dropped like 20 degrees almost. 20 degrees in Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that translates to in your
I think
your weird units that everybody else in the world uses.
I think it's roughly the same in terms of quantity. It's just the starting point that's different. Actually, no. I'm thinking wrong there, because 0 degrees Celsius is about 30-something degrees Fahrenheit, isn't it? I mean, we'll leave that for another time, though, as Austin Hunter jumps in for a second time. Those tyres are 47 laps old, and he's not going to be too happy with the state of his truck at the moment. Meanwhile, Baron Hilton fighting with Zach Panzarella, and Hilton getting the run round the outside once more onto the back stretch. There's still fights for position going on all through the field. Just up ahead of those guys, we've got Eric Papineau and Dalton Geyer, but we've also got these 2 guys, Danny Cervantes and Adam Zemke, fighting over 6th place. Cervantes, I think, will be a bit disappointed after qualifying in 2nd. He's not quite been able to show his worth with the long run in the first half of the race, and it looks like Adam Zemke might be trying to get him here. Tyres a lap younger for Mr. Zemke, and it seems he's looked after them nicely, makes the move, and that's Adam Zemke back up to where he qualified in 6th, but for how long? Because Cervantes has got the high line. Big oversteer moment, and they come together side by side again. They tap each other, and Zemke's rear suspension, a number would have been done on that.
And somehow they still didn't wreck. How is that possible?
This is amazing. Like, there've been a few incidents like that already, particularly between our leaders, where, you'd think that it'd cause a race-ending wreck for either driver, but ultimately it hasn't. Well, that will be far beyond the thoughts of many drivers here, as we're just about to get the white flag for our race leader, Richard Regan Jr. And look at that gap that he's extended now, 1.2 seconds. Bradley Holly isn't going to have much chance of catching him up now with what has been a very good performance in the second half of this race by Regan. Pitting a lap earlier absolutely sealed it for him. But we've also got to consider the slight incident between himself and Holly. That ever so small bit of rear end contact that might have defined a few things as well, but they still battled each other hard to the end. Richard Regan Jr. gets his Road to Pro preparations off to an excellent run there with the win here at Kansas. Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight will round out your podium. And Knight only finished 2/10 behind Holly.
Yeah, Daniel Knight, I mean, we spent so much time talking about the top two, but he came from 15th to 3rd, so he's definitely nothing to be ashamed of in that day.
Yeah, it looked like he had great pace at the end too. Well, Bradley Holly will likely still hold on to the championship lead, but by an ever-narrowing margin now with Regan's win here. The victory celebrations shall begin. Excellent stuff there. Those donuts are going to taste especially sweet, and we'll see if he ends up doing a little bit of lawn mowing as well. Yes, indeed. Get onto the grass, swing it around. Well, as Richard Regan goes about his victory celebrations, we're going to step aside very briefly here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll have our official race results and interviews with our podium.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Well, that was a consistent burner at Kansas Speedway, round 8 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, and it was won by Richard Regan Jr., 1.3 seconds ahead of Bradley Holly, our championship leader. Daniel Knight from 15th to 3rd, an excellent run-up through the field. Jeff Evans finishes in 4th place, and Thomas Sink rounds out the top 5. Danny Cervantes is in 6th, with Charles Sumner overtaking Adam Zemke just before the line. There was contact between Cervantes and Zemke in the final couple of laps. Skip Gandy finishes in 9th. He'll be happy with that. And Jim Westerfield will be ecstatic with 10th.
All right, the last of our lead lap runners here with Mike Witt in 11th over Adam Shane. Stacy Hunter was 13th, and then Ryan Traver, last truck on the lead lap, in 14th. Colton Lane, Jose Medina, Garrett Austin, Eric Papineau, Dalton Geyer, and Baron Hilton complete the top 20, all 1 lap down.
Zach Panzarella and Mike Richter, along with Dylan Schmidt, the last cars 1 lap down. CM Pennington finished 2 laps down. Unfortunate for Austin Hunter, Mark Kailyn, and Nicholas Hunter. Some mistakes, errors in the pit lane, and the like, unfortunately meant that they could not get it done. But pretty much all of our drivers ended up finishing, which is certainly fantastic to see here at Kansas Speedway. Now we move on to our driver interviews, and the first driver we're going to chat to is, of course, our winner, Richard Regan Jr. Welcome once again, Richard. That's another win on the books for you, and championship lead to Bradley Holly reduced once more.
Yeah, definitely starting to make a little bit of headway in the championship, but I mean, we only got 2 more races left after this, so I need Brad to have some bad luck, and hopefully we can keep running up front and closing on the lead.
Indeed. Just talk us through that slight little incident between you two towards the end of the race. It looked very exciting from our point of view. What was your perspective of it?
Yeah, I mean, me and Brad race hard all the time together, and he was riding up on my bumper pretty close and trying to get me loose and drive off my right rear more. He did it the first run pretty good, so I let him by, thinking it'd help a little bit, but then my tire was too far gone after that, and that first run, it was just a tight loose at that point, and so I knew coming out of the pits that if I was able to get around him, he'd start to try to do that again, and he tried to throw a slider on me, got loose, and I mean, he slid right up in front of me, so it is what it is. Hard racing. He's probably not too happy with it, but it is what it is.
Finally, do you feel happy with your preparations for Road to Pro tomorrow?
Yeah, been putting in some time for Road to Pro for tomorrow. We got some headway to make up there. I got wrecked at Bristol, and that knocked us pretty far back in points. We would have been locked in by now, but tomorrow I'm hoping for a good run. Hopefully we can run top 3 and get some good points and get closer to the lock-in.
Well, wishing you the best of luck with that tomorrow, Richard. Anyone you'd like to thank for your victory before we let you go?
Yeah, I got to thank Liqui Moly for coming on board for the remainder of the 2022 season. Also, Gearhead Coffee coming on board, all the Phase 2 chassis work guys, Kristen Swenson, who was on the spotter stand tonight for the first half of the race. Unfortunately, he is under a tornado watch, so he wasn't in there for most of it. But you guys at GSRC and everyone at PRL.
Stay safe, Richard Swenson. That's Richard Regan Jr. there, our race winner. Fantastic job indeed. And stood by with Chris Phoebe is 2nd place, Bradley Holly.
Well, Brad, some hard racing there with you and Richard. Tell us about your thoughts on it.
I really have no comment on the contact, but it was good hard racing up until that point, and his strategy worked out and ended up hurting my tires at the end.
I was going to say, you two were battling for, seemed like, half the race, and that probably ate up the tires a little bit on your ride.
A little bit, especially when I had to get as sideways as I did. That pretty much finished me off right there. I definitely felt like I was better than Richard on the long runs, and I was keeping my tires underneath me up until that point, and have to just go get back at it at Texas next week.
Now, with that margin between you and Richard getting a little bit tighter, You starting to look over your shoulder at all, or still all eyes forward?
All eyes forward. I never really look in the mirror. I just put my head down and do what I need to do to be up front.
All right, Brad, anybody you'd like to thank to help make today possible for you?
Definitely everybody over at GSRC. You guys put on a great show and always enjoy watching y'all's broadcasts. Everybody in the PRL and all organizers and managers for putting on this league. Everybody works their hardest to make these as fun as possible, and everybody in the Waterback crew.
All right, that's Bradley Holly, our runner-up finisher tonight. Back to you, Reese.
Final driver interview of the night is going to be third place, and it is third place once again for Daniel Knight in the Tommy's Pub Toyota Tundra number 17. Welcome, Daniel. You must be very happy with another drive up through the field from 15th to 3rd. What was it like for you?
Yeah, that was way better of a result than I expected after that qualifying effort. It's a lot of fun going up through the field, and I enjoy tracks like this that don't require you to save your right front, because I'm abysmal at that. So any time that you can drive a really, really loose truck and just try to be as precise as you can with it, that seems to fit in with my driving style.
Certainly does. We did see drivers getting quite loose there up the top. What's the main difference at Kansas running the high line versus the low line?
You can keep that momentum up so much better. Later in the run, you can still run the low line, and you'll have the grip to do it on entry, but the truck just washes up, and then you lose all that momentum sliding up towards the wall. So if you can find that balance between your right foot and your steering wheel and get it to rip the top, you can just keep carrying that speed, and that's definitely the best way to do it.
Well, with a couple more rounds to go, you certainly managed to get yourself in with a battle potentially for a top 5, depending on how things go. So we'll let you go, Daniel, and prepare for that. But before we do, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, as always, the Riding Shotgun guys, PRL, the whole league. It's always fun to race with these guys, and it's always a big challenge to race with all these dudes. And you guys at GSRC as well for making this fun and getting my my interpersonal skills up with all these interviews.
Yes, indeed. Well, there we go. That is Daniel Knight in the number 17. Another podium on the books for him. He should certainly be happy with that. Well, Chris, it brings to an end proceedings for tonight. We go to Texas Motor Speedway for the next round of this series. That's going to be another interesting one, a recently reconfigured circuit that has been controversial in some respects.
Yeah, Texas is can be a bit of a mixed bag, but I think if it's anything like what we saw today, we're in for a treat. So hoping for a repeat of tonight.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping for that too. You'll be able to catch that this time next week. Before we go, we want to give one more thanks to our series sponsors, Advanced SimRacing. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com, and NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp page for more of her awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race, of course, is Texas Motor Speedway, 8:50 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday night. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.